Okay, hello everyone. We're gonna go ahead and get started. Tonight our special programming is Lowell Kane. He is the director of Purdue's Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, and Queer Center. He's been an advocate and leader in the LGBTQ community for more than a decade, and he specializes in educational programming, support services, and fostering collaborative partnerships. So everyone give it up for Lowell.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here to return to PSG. I visit about once a year, so I'm excited to see some new faces. I certainly want to welcome you to join and visit the LGBTQ Center and all of Purdue's cultural centers. We all fall under the Office of Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging. We have 5 cultural centers at Purdue. Who's been to a cultural center? Good, lots of hands. That's awesome. Can you all hear me if I speak at this volume? Okay. Cool. I have a throat issue, so my voice is always kind of scratchy. Last year, the LGBTQ Center celebrated our 10th anniversary, and so we are really excited by the fact that we have this resource on campus. It is very unusual, it is very rare that a campus has dedicated resources, support, staff, funding, programs that are focused on LGBTQ populations, gender, and sexuality. And so having one for 10 years is an important milestone. We focus a lot on programming and resources for the community. We're a resource and referral center, so we're not a counseling space, right? We have CAPS for counseling, we have Dean of Students offices, but we work very closely with campus resources to engage the whole community and to provide support spaces. We do a significant amount of programming. We have a very dynamic calendar of events throughout the course of the year, and there's just a lot of ways to learn about and get involved with the campus through the LGBTQ Center and all of our cultural centers on campus. We consider the space of the center a dedicated safe space, right? You can come there, ask questions, connect with not just the community, but also staff members. As of this coming spring semester, we'll have 5 full-time employees at the LGBTQ Center. So it's actually one of the largest centers in the country with regards to staffing. And we're just a welcoming and affirming location for all people. So anybody who stops by can access resources, can find people to connect with. I was just mentioning to Izzy, though I don't have a picture of her in the slides here, 4 days a week, you'll also be able to access an emotional support puppy at the LGBTQ Center. So if you've ever been there, you've probably met my dog Pippa. She works there. She's approved through HR, so it's not like something under the table going on. 2 of our cultural centers have emotional support dogs that work there. The other is the Latino Cultural Center where Coco works. So Coco and Pippa are part of our staff. As I mentioned, we've been open since July of 2012. We're part of the Office of Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging. And one of the really exciting things that I can highlight is since we've opened, when the center first opened, when we did not yet have resources dedicated things, Purdue opened not at 0, but at what was called 3 stars by the sort of national ranking body, which is called the Campus Pride organization. Since 2017, we have been a 5-star campus. 5-star is the top that they offer. Top ranking that they offer. They look at 8 vectors of sort of campus life, campus experience, safety, academic offerings, all kinds of ways that students might experience the campus. So we're a 5-star institution, but beyond that, there's a secondary tier that Campus Pride started in 2020, I believe, which is a ranking that they call the best of the best. So they rank hundreds of institutions across the country on how well they're doing at supporting LGBTQ students, staff, and faculty. And they pick 20 to 40 institutions every year to be the best of the best category. And we started in 2020 getting ranked amongst the best of the best. And they just recently released, about a month ago, the rankings for this year. And once again, Purdue is recognized in this category. So Purdue is literally trailblazing. We are making incredible waves. And again, we're one of the youngest centers in the country. Our colleagues down the road, down in Bloomington, have had a center for more than 35 years, to give you context, right, about how young we actually are. It's a little hard to get data about LGBTQ students. Can anybody guess why it's a little hard? Why might students not want to disclose their identities? Yeah.
For fear of retaliation, either academically or from family, a lot of different
Sure,
bases.
retaliation, absolutely. I saw another hand.
I was just going to say, honestly, for not knowing until they get to college.
Absolutely, yeah. We're at a very developmental time in our lives when we're going through, right, the 4, 5, and 6 years that we might be on a college campus. Any other reasons? Those are all absolutely correct, right? And there's a host of reasons why. But what we do know from current data, 2022 Gallup poll data tells us that within Gen Z, this population, about 1 in 5 students identifies as LGBTQ+. And so here on campus, when we look at Purdue data, that actually tracks with what we're seeing. So we have what's called the SOGI database, Sexual Orientation Gender Identity Database. And we see that about 1 in 5 students self-identify as LGBTQ+, and in also survey data that Purdue collects when people have the opportunity to disclose, we're tracking at about 1 in 5. So somewhere on campus, we're seeing around closer to the 9,000 number of students identifying or being under an LGBTQ+ spectrum. So when we do this work on campus, we're looking at a very large student population that's often hard to track. And so we're working with our campus colleagues on things like gender inclusive housing and restrooms, accessibility needs, student organization development. But we also have faculty and staff issues that we tackle because the center, it's not under student life. We fall under the provost, right? And so we tackle all kinds of issues for student, staff, and faculty. And one of the exciting outcomes of this is that we've been able to collect so much data in the last 10 years that we're growing our center. And so in January, 33 days actually from today, December 12th, we are opening a new LGBTQ center at Purdue. And so have you all heard about that at all? Okay, you're gonna get a preview that literally has not been shared far and wide yet. So I'm excited to show you some images. All right. This is the aerial view of what is our future. So in the Hicks Underground Library location, that's where we've been building for about the last 6 to 8 months. But the planning has been going on for 1.5 years. And so our current location is in Schliemann Hall, room 230. If you have not been there, you have 33 days to visit us in that location. Stop on by. But after December, after January really, come visit us over in Hicks. Our current site is about 1,300 square feet. So it's about the size of like a regular house, basically. And actually many of our cultural centers are houses, so you can think of it as about that size. To give you some context, last year, we tracked 13,900 visits at the LGBTQ Center. On an average day, we see about 150 to 250 unique visitors at the LGBTQ Center, and the average duration of stay is about 90 minutes per student. So that place fills up, right? 1,300 square feet is not a lot when it's that much frequency and use. So we're going from that size to this, which used to be the Hicks Undergrounds Cafe. So it's right across from the library. This is just under 4,000 square feet. We are very excited by this, y'all. It will also make Purdue's LGBTQ Center amongst the largest in square footage in the country. And so it also has great utility of space here. So this is like the colorful chart. I'm gonna show you a sort of model that shows the use of it a little bit more clearly. You walk in through the main doors here. There's a reception area with staff, right? Full-time staff and student employees over here. There are offices for staff behind. And so we'll have 4 full-time staff members and a little conference room right here. This side of the center, where the arrow is, that's all for programming. That's for student engagement. That's for like day-to-day activities. So over here, there are tabletops. These are all dry erase tabletops. And we can also convert it, if we need to, for presentations and programming. So it can hold up to 60 or so seats. There's gallery walls. We do have a huge art collection So we'll be able to display and also have rotation of art. And then in the top corner up here, which you can see a little bit more clearly in this, we have a full kitchen. There will not be a stove. We're trying to avoid fires and any other incidents like that. We'll be underground too. But food insecurity, when we collect our data about LGBTQ student experiences and just in general at all the cultural centers, food insecurity is a rising issue amongst students on campus. And so we do have a relationship with the ACE Campus Food Pantry and other food insecurity addressing populations. So we put in a campus or a kitchenette here to address food insecurity issues within this population. There's comfortable seating areas like couches and rocking chairs. And then back here in this area and over here in this area, these are what they call phone booths. They're not really phone booths though. They're little quiet meeting offices where a student could have a one-on-one conversation with somebody from CAPS or the CCO, or if they need to have a telehealth meeting with a therapist or an interview for a job, they can have a private reservable space within the LGBTQ Center in 2 different locations for that. On this side, we have a reservable conference room. We have study areas, ITAP computer lab. These are all study desks. And everything is going to be like high-speed internet. It's going to be just fantastic location access for all people. The capacity of this space is just tremendous compared to what we have today. And it will set the bar for LGBTQ centers in this country. So we're planning a grand opening, probably the 3rd week of January. I will make sure to get it out to PSG. We would love for you to join us for that. Let me put all of this up here for the sake of time saving. This is a little bit of what we do throughout the year. We bring amazing speakers to campus. We provide workshops for student, staff, and faculty so that we can raise awareness and provide the skills to make our campus safer and more affirming for everybody. This picture right here is our study abroad program. We haven't done it during COVID, y'all. We miss studying abroad. And so we're talking about reviving this right now. This is our students in Paris. We want to go back to Paris. We do have a deep connection to the LGBT study, or minors, LGBTQ studies minor. And we provide internship opportunities for credit at the LGBTQ Center. We have major events on campus. So if you've been to the Rainbow Callout or Lavender Graduation, those programs are attended by hundreds and thousands of people. Rainbow Callout has become one of the largest welcome to campus events at Purdue. And it's fabulous. Great drag performers, by the way. Game nights, speakers bureaus. We participate in homecoming parades. Up here, this is Sasha Velour, who won RuPaul's Drag Race, actually creating one of the murals at the center with all of our students. All kinds of great things. And this just covers, again, sort of what happens day to day at the LGBTQ Center. So, as I said, we're a resource and referral center. We connect in with a lot of Purdue resources. If we can't get you an answer, actually, I don't think there's an answer we can't get you at this point. We can get you most answers or anything. But we are connected with all of these resources: CAPS, CCO, Disability Resource Center, Res Life, PUSH, financial aid. We really can find a way to resolve just about any situation that a student has presented to us rather quickly. And it's not sending you away from us. We will connect you to the right person, the person who we work directly with, to find the solution to your problem. And it's much faster and easier to work through our offices. Our trainings are open to all. So we have a section on our website. If you are interested in safe zone or trans inclusion trainings, the skills to make your campus safer and more affirming for your peers, you can just sign up for any of those workshops. We offer them throughout the semester. They are free. They're great professional development opportunities. They're wonderful for a resume. We have a Purdue alumnus who's a senior vice president of HR at a Forbes 100. And he always says he can come to Purdue to recruit and find tons of 4.0 students. That's not a problem at Purdue. But finding students who have professional development listed that shows that they can work in diverse workplaces. That's a skill he's looking for. And so this is a great thing to have on your resume. We list on our website the incredible progress that we've made on campus for trans inclusion, the inclusive all-gender resources on campus, housing resources, using chosen name or having chosen names appear on diplomas and during graduation ceremonies. These are questions that come up quite often. All of it is on our website, or you can ask a staff member. And then, of course, we have the in-house resources. And of course, the most important thing is the student experience to us. And so students always talk about the kind of culture that's developed at the LGBTQ Center. And so students say things like, I knew I was missing my family a lot, and the people at the center felt like family to me. I knew I loved it here. When people were excited to see me, I felt welcomed and included at this place. I could do homework and have fun and relax all in one place. There's always an adult that you can talk to. I guess I'm the adult now. If you need someone to listen to. Plus, there's always food, right? So food comes up yet again here. It makes me feel like I'm welcome no matter where I come from. It's filled me with love and laughter. It brings out the best in me and encourages me to be better, more productive, more caring human being. So it's a space that cultivates Boilermakers that we want to see survive, thrive, and go out there and be successful in the future. So we're out on social media. We have a bi-weekly newsletter that we publish that you can access on our website. We are on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We kind of have a Snapchat. It's really not used, y'all. I don't know how to use Snapchat. I'm not gonna lie. I do like the Instagram stuff. We're struggling a bit with social media. We're gonna get there. But I encourage you, if you want to know what's happening at our cultural center and all of the cultural centers, follow us on social media. It's the best way to stay informed about what's happening, right? We put out the most updates, probably through Instagram at this point. And our newsletters are just packed with information, upcoming events. In December, we're going up to Chicago for an art exhibition. When we announce the grand opening in January, that's going to be on our social media. And when we announce that grand opening, we're also going to announce the amazing keynote speaker who we're bringing here in the spring. Internationally renowned keynote speaker who is coming to Purdue in March, who I'm not going to tell you anything more about right now. So you have to wait and see. So you should follow at Purdue LGBTQ for more information. And I'm going to leave it at that because I think we have about 10 minutes for open Q&A. And so I invite anything you want to ask, anything you want to know. I'll do my best to answer about other cultural centers too. But thank you again for having me. Okay. Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Sydney. I was just wondering, I know there has been a lot happening in university residence with acquiring new residences and restructuring old residences, especially with the new president coming in. I was just wondering if you knew about any more gender inclusive housing besides just, I think there's 2 dorms on campus right now that are like gender inclusive specific. So I just wondered if there were plans or if you knew of any plans to extend that list.
Good question. So we have inclusive housing that I know of in 3 locations: Hillenbrand, Hilltop, and another with an H. Hawkins. It's the H ones. It's how I remember it, but I didn't clearly remember it. And I believe, well, I can actually say this for sure too. Every year, we have increased the number of spaces available. That said, I don't know that we've had the conversation yet about next year's planning, but every year we've seen a growth in the number of requests for spaces, and we've seen growth in the number of spaces allocated. And so I'm very hopeful that that trend will continue. And so we've had a great partnership. We love our colleagues in Res Life. They've been incredibly supportive. They've been very open and receptive to the requests that have been made from students and also from the center. And so my hope is that we continue to see this like flourish. And I think the more feedback that folks give also, that particularly student voices give, we'll also see that continue to grow. It's a great question. Yeah, you have another? Yeah.
I have a lot of questions, I'm sorry.
Love it.
I was just wondering, so obviously campus continues to expand, right? Like we just got Hagel Hall opened. And on my tour of Hagel Hall, I didn't note any gender inclusive bathrooms. So I was just wondering, do you guys get any input on the new buildings being like built on campus? And like, I guess how do they decide like what buildings get gender inclusive bathrooms and what buildings do they not deem so necessary?
Also a great question. So all new construction, it is my understanding that all new construction, it is required for there to be at least one all-gender bathroom. We also work very closely with the folks who are overseeing facilities on campus, and there's a person named Deb who sort of is like over all bathrooms. And so we often work with Deb when there's either a new construction coming up so that we can ensure that there's an all-gender facility, or when there's an opportunity in an existing building, particularly an older facility, to see if we can address like restructuring the facilities within that space to add or to modify. And a good example of that, actually, let me see if I can pull it up here. Oh, it's not on here. Well, it's kind of on here. Okay. Right outside this hallway, there's 2 existing bathrooms, right? Because Hicks is an old facility, an older facility. There's 2 bathrooms right out here that were gendered bathrooms. And as a result of the center relocating to this space, we certainly raised the concern about having access to all gender bathrooms and also accessible ADA compliant bathrooms. And every chance that we have the opportunity to not just make something all gender, we also try to make them ADA compliant. And so as part of this ongoing process, it may not be ready by the time that we relocate in 33 days, but this will be an ongoing component of the construction into the next semester. We work with Deb and facilities to make certain that we can modify existing structures to make them compliant. And so there are ways to raise that question, and if you are in a building or if you have access to a space or knowledge about a space where there is not an all-gender bathroom or an ADA compliant bathroom, and there's a need that's present, you can either contact facilities, or if you contact the LGBTQ Center, we often are the liaison between a person on campus and the people who can make that fix. That's a great question as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for raising it. Yeah. Yes.
First, I want to thank you so much for coming and speaking to us today. I know that the LGBTQ Center is open to all students, but as a student who doesn't identify with part of that community, what is the best way to interact with the center without impeding on what is a safe space for LGBTQ students?
What a great question, too. These are brilliant. Thank you. So as I said, we see a lot of people at the center, and we certainly don't ask people to self-identify, or right, we don't card people at the door. And so that does not happen. I want to be sure to say that. And with all of our cultural centers, you don't have to identify with the name or the identities in the names of our centers to use these spaces and grow from the resources within them. I often share with folks that one of the best ways to start engaging, particularly with the LGBTQ Center, because it's a pretty busy space and there's often people already in there, and sometimes that can be intimidating to walk in those doors when there's existing relationships. One of the best ways to come and join us for the first time is actually on Fridays. And I say that because Fridays at the center, we call them Fabulous Fridays. Every Friday is fabulous at the LGBTQ Center. And that's a program that started about 6 or 7 years ago. We always have some kind of food, and we always have some kind of very low skill craft activity. It has to be low skill because I have to be able to do it. And so it's like we've done origami, we've made Play-Doh, we've made slime, but there's skill level things that are also designed to help people de-stress. They're things that have people working together. And so they form relationships and encourage communication. And so if it's your first time coming, it's a great opportunity because people just naturally have to talk to each other. And oftentimes you'll find that there's not just students, but also faculty, staff, and community members. We have some like local moms who come by and hang out and bring snacks. They're great. And it's often like homemade snacks, so it's really great. But people often drop titles, right? There's no like Dean so-and-so or Dr. so-and-so in those days. It's very informal, and it's an opportunity for everybody to just meet, get connected, and have a good time. And so Fridays is probably the best day to come in. And then after that, it's much easier, I think, for folks to return. Thank you for asking. Yeah. Other questions? Yes, Lily.
Yeah, I also want to echo the thank you so much for coming. Always love having you here. In your time at Purdue, what do you think is Purdue's biggest accomplishment or like space of growth when it comes to supporting LGBTQ students? And then what do you see as the biggest opportunity for improvement?
Oh my gosh. Well, y'all, I've been here since day one of the center. The first center was a 300 square foot room in a building that no longer exists. And so to really, I was in this construction site today, and to see this coming online it's unreal. And to know the impact it will have in the lives of students, staff and faculty, but really primarily students, it will be life-saving for some of your peers. And I don't mean that hyperbolically. Like, I literally mean it has saved lives. This work is life-saving. Having spaces where people can talk to CAPS privately and just have community in this era is critical. And so to see Purdue go full throttle and invest like this over these last 10 years, when I came here 10 years ago, I did not know or expect this. And so that has been really special. Like, I get choked up thinking about it, and it is really amazing. And to get to be a part of this community is a gift every day. Where I think we can still see some growth too, I always think about funding and scholarship opportunities and access, right, to alumni and all of those kinds of connections that help people get to the next level and after graduation, right? All of those connections that we are really good at institutionally. One of the challenges with our identity group is historically, and even most places, we don't track LGBTQ identities. So it's very difficult to make those connections. And we're starting a lot of that work with Purdue for Life. We're starting a lot of that work with alumni, but we're at the very beginning of it. And so putting a lot of institutional effort and intentionality behind that, I would love to see as much full throttle as we have done here, like similar there. And I believe we can do it because we've done it. So I really think we can do just about anything here. Right here.
Hi, I just wanted to ask, or clarify, I guess. So you guys have like CAPS liaisons, or at least like connections with CAPS. Do those therapists identify within the LGBTQ plus community?
Good question. So we work with CAPS staff, and also there are CAPS interns every year. Sometimes they do identify, sometimes they do not, and sometimes we don't know how they identify. Oftentimes, folks who volunteer to be the liaison to a cultural center have a connection to the identities within that center, or they have an academic connection, right? That's the research that they do. So sometimes, yes, they identify. I believe this year, at least one identifies as a member of the community? That's a great question. Yeah, definitely. Other questions? Seeing none, I yield my time. Thank you so much, friends. All right. Well, hopefully we'll see you in Schliemann 2:30 in the next 30 days. And after that, downstairs we'll see you in Hicks. Thanks for all that you do for Purdue.
I know we have a senator that needs swearing in. So would that senator like to come up?
All right. You want to take this? Sure. All right. So just repeat after me.
Okay.
Put your right hand up. All right. I state your name.
Hi, Parker Woodruff.
On this 9th day of November 2022.
On this 9th day of November 2022,
Swear to abide by and uphold.
swear to abide by and uphold
The Constitution and the bylaws.
the Constitution and the bylaws
Of the Purdue student government.
of the Purdue student government.
I swear to conduct.
I swear to conduct
All legislative business.
all legislative business
With the utmost integrity.
with the utmost integrity
And with the best interest of Purdue University.
and with the best interests of Purdue University
And its student body.
and its student body
As my main objective.
as my main objectives.
All right. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, hello and welcome all. At 7:34 p.m., I will now call this meeting to order. If you are a visitor, please state your name and your reason for being here. There's a mic next to you. If you just hold it down and speak.
I'm Joe. I'm with the Purdue Exponent.
I'm Olivia, and I'm also with the Exponent.
I'm Todd. I'm with the Purdue Exponent as well.
I'm Gabriella, and I'm here for a journalism.
I'm Donovan. I just came to observe.
Nice. All right, well, welcome. Thank you guys for being here. We will now begin with proxy reports. If you are a proxy, please state your name and the senator you are proxying for at this time. Do we have any? Yes.
I'm Neelan, and I'm proxying for Sam of the Honors College.
Nice, thank you. Hearing no more proxies, we will move into a roll call by Secretary Friend.
Senator Ferguson.
Here.
Senator Mariani.
Here.
Senator Hampton.
Here.
Senator Terrell.
Here.
Senator Scudder.
Here.
Senator Kirkendall. Senator Merkel.
Here.
Senator Wheeler.
Here.
Senator Dodona.
Here.
Senator Bottini.
Here.
Senator Conrad.
Here.
Senator Alexander.
Here.
Senator Ayomid Femuwa.
Here.
Senator Ackerman.
Here.
Senator Eskunis.
Here.
Senator Josik.
Here.
Senator Bowman. Senator de Guzman.
Here.
Senator Kirsch.
Here.
Senator Adam.
Here.
Senator Johnson.
Here.
Senator De Silva.
Here.
Senator Liu.
Here.
Senator Woodruff.
Here.
Senator Robinson.
Here.
Senator Yax, Senator Jane.
Here.
Okay. We will now move into our land acknowledgement. So Purdue Student Government acknowledges the traditional homelands of the indigenous people which Purdue University is built upon. We honor and appreciate the Potawatomi, Delaware, Miami, and Shawnee people who are the original indigenous caretakers. Now, senators, please rise for your pledge of purpose. Our purpose is to be Nicely done, everyone. The minutes for the last meeting were distributed to all via SharePoint. Are there any corrections to the minutes at this time? Seeing none, the minutes are approved as distributed. Since President Jensen is out, Press Secretary Chris, do you have his executive report?
Yeah, I sure do. I am going to do my best here to not say it just like him. All right, so, and I'm quoting here just before anyone gets mad at me for what I say. Sorry I cannot be there. I have a previous engagement, but luckily we have our wonderful press secretary that helped me out. I did not pay Evan to say that. All right, so going into the actual substance, Lift Talks, reaching out to PUPD, Transportation, VPSL, Office of Rights and Responsibilities, Care and Wellness to gather data on student safety. This data will be used with the legislation. Internal meetings talking about geofence, amounts per ride, how many riders, and all that fun stuff are going on now. With the app, the RFP was sent out for a comprehensive app, so now just wait on responses there. Lots of interest, then for the student trustee, lots of interest with the student trustee position, and so he has a few meetings over the next couple of weeks to talk about it on a personal level. And then there's a virtual call out for that tomorrow at 6 p.m. Zoom is in the campus-wide email sent out last week. Also for the press secretary position, searching for a press secretary, have a few great candidates so far. Elections director, Braden, who is the deputy chief of staff, will be leading the search for the elections director. And then admin needs, he is meeting with Vice Provost McCuskey and Provost Ackridge next week.
Yeah, so my executive reports are very similar to that. I'll be leading the student trustee call-out meeting tomorrow. It'll be over Zoom. It'll start at 6 p.m., so if you're at all interested, please show up, show out virtually. There will also be an in-person opportunity on the 16th, but we're still trying to work out the details for that, so timing to come. But for sure, attend the virtual call-out if you're available, and if not, it'll be recorded, so if you ever need that, it'll be linked to the PSG website once that's all done. Additionally, the Indiana Senate is looking for help from interns for the legislative season that's coming out starting in January. It's a paid experience, and it's an amazing way to get going in politics or advocacy work. And then there are opportunities in both the Republican and Democratic parties or in offices. So if you're at all interested, please let us know, and we'll connect you to the right people there. And yeah, since Abidemi's not here, are there any other executive reports? Treasurer Wiseman?
Just a little update on the budget. We have spent $14,000 up to this point. I think in the coming weeks some lift legislation will be coming. I think that's kind of what the big chunk you might all be waiting for on that. And an internal spending update of the 12% limit set at the beginning of this year. We are currently at 6.36%. A bulk of that would be the fall retreat, polos, and name tags, I believe, are on order as well.
Press Secretary Chris.
All right, so now for my updates, our next spoiler update's going out sometime tomorrow, so if you guys want anything put in there, please get that to me by midnight tonight so I can make sure it gets out tomorrow.
Chief Justice Kim.
The civics literacy working group and the civics literacy statewide group are looking for 2 reps from PSG to serve on those committees. So if you're interested, reach out to me.
Pro Tem Tadana?
So just a friendly reminder for all senators that we only have one more Senate session left of this year, so please be looking detailed at your duties. We like to have them all in, at least the dates you're planning to do so, by quiet week now. So please look at those. I know we have winterization coming up that hits those volunteer guidelines, but if you have any concerns about how you're going to get those done, or if you're even worried now about getting them done, please reach out and we'll figure out best ways to accommodate or help you.
Are there any more executive reports at this time? Seeing none, we can move into committee reports, starting with internal affairs.
Same as it's been for the past couple weeks, still working on the election rules. Those should be going to the floor next Senate session, so before the end of the semester. In addition, we're working on getting our governing document updates through SAO. If that's all from the committee, for a personal note from me, we are redoing office hours. There have been some changes. So now the minimum office hour requirement for senators is 1 hour. And in addition, we can have 3 senators in the office at any given time now. So even if you don't want to make any changes to your office hours, I ask that you do please refill out the when to meet so that I have all the information in the same place. And as a final update from IA, we will be doing a fun new project in the spring semester, but that's a surprise. So keep your eyes peeled.
Very nice. Financial affairs.
So we've got the updated SFAB Constitution going through Senate today, so that was pretty fun having those conversations about it. Projects going forward, we have to make some updates to our governing documents so we can make the necessary updates to the SFAB Constitution for next year. We've been approving some PSG small grants, which has been great. We're getting between 6 and 8 applications a week and approving usually about 50% of them. Hoping to get that rate a little bit higher. Last night we held a little call out that we recorded, so our hope is to provide a link to that both in the boiler update for the coming weeks and then also have it on the application page. So yeah, encourage your friends and other organizations to apply.
Campus and student resource affairs.
Yes, so missed you all dearly last Senate meeting. Sorry I wasn't here to enlighten your day with CSRA. We are actually going to be pumping through HECA legislation, more than likely for like the last Senate meeting of the year. We're just going to wait until that. I know that we have a piece of legislation being written about the condom and menstrual product availability on campus. We are currently working on a piece of legislation about bike racks, more bike racks on academic campus, parking passes for ROTC students, as well as trying to get some places on campus, specifically 3rd Street Market and the dining courts to switch, well, maybe just 3rd Street Market. I don't really know about the dining courts yet. But we're trying to work on switching from plastic to reusable paper bags because it's actually not that much more expensive and it's just like an easy thing that Purdue could do. So all those things I think are pretty exciting. I'm pretty optimistic about them. We are having a legislation workshop on Sunday, allegedly, that's not confirmed, to get boba and to finish writing and editing all of these to get them submitted. So if anyone has any CSRA ideas or wants to get boba and sit with us as we aggressively write legislation, you're all welcome. I don't have a time, but I'll post it in the Slack.
Sounds like a party. University academic affairs.
Yeah, so we met with the director advising Jess Ramsey and the dean of the Honors College, and we talked to them about the honors contract, if we can extend that, and they said they're in the works, so UIA doesn't have anything to do with that other than just waiting and following up with them next semester to see how the process is going. It all depends on the Office of Registrar, so they'll be asking them questions about that. They also want people to know that to be part of the Honors College, you don't have to start as a freshman. You can also join the Honors College when you're a sophomore, as long as you have 4 semesters left. So they wanted us to let you guys know about that. And then our biggest project right now is getting exams back after grades go in, because some professors don't give some students their exams back. So I'm working on that. We're doing a lot of research and seeing what we can do to write something with that.
Very nice. Any ad hoc committee reports? Pro Tem Dodona?
Yeah, so SAFER is sort of after the consent party and the legislation that you all get to see tonight, we're sort of having some brainstorming sessions on exactly what is the plan for moving forward. Additionally, we have a survey hopefully coming out, not on this spoiler update, but in the next one, talking about the sexual violence prevention and climate on campus. So hoping to get some more student data on that. But other than legislation tonight, SAFER is moving forward.
Nice. Pro Tem Ferguson?
Yeah, I'm going to do the Pride as well as the Disabled Community Ad Hoc updates for Claire. As of Pride right now, we're working on Trans Week of Awareness. A joint post with Panhellenic should be going out next Sunday or Monday, depending on when that all gets finalized, as well as a post for Trans Day of Remembrance, which is November 20th. You guys should be seeing a lot coming out of various different social media posts, just more educational content. That we're also working on a survey to do a lunch at the LGBTQ Center. I believe the date for that will be November 29th, but that is subject to change, just to gather more information to help us with legislation and project ideas for the upcoming year. And then Disabled Community Ad Hoc is working on an accessibility guide for professors. They have been in contact with various different administrators and hoping to set up a meeting with the DRC to get a gauge on what that would look like when it comes to feasibility as well as implementation. And they're also planning on drafting an action plan for this year to give a more concrete guideline of different disabled student needs.
Yes.
Yeah, so the Black Boilermaker Experience Project Ad Hoc Committee, I've been going through some meetings with some faculty and some advisors just to make sure that I'm on the right track in terms of like Purdue guidelines and legalities and things like that. And we're gonna have our first official meeting this Friday, so it'll be fun. We're gonna go over the storyboard and try to plan out the rest of the semester and also look towards next semester in terms of filming and when we wanna start that.
Very nice. Yes.
Then I also have the MHA updates. So Mental Health Action Week, the date has been picked. It'll be March 6th through the 10th. Their planning committee call out is going to be November 17th at 7 p.m. in Beering 1260. A post is currently in the works for that and will be up before the end of this week. And they're also working with CAPS to contract a speaker for this year's event.
Very nice. Seeing no more committee reports, we can now move into informal discussion. Does anyone have any? Yes.
I don't know if anyone can answer this question, but there was a lot of conversations in a caucus about winterization and the planning on winterization and the setting up of teams in winterization, requirements of driving. Does anybody have any more details on that?
Press Secretary Chris?
I would reach out to Abidemi on that one since he's not here, because it's been, I think, engagement committee of Todd has been handling a lot of that. So I'd reach out to Abidemi. He'll put you in the right direction. That's the best I got for you.
Yes.
As I went through the application, it seems like your team is like student government as a whole. So just to give like a little bit of insight.
Yes. Okay, I know I can speak from years past that it's been that student government then after that organizes like who goes into what cars. There are a bunch of like little logistic questions that we will ask Abidemi and then send them all out via Slack to senators who are planning on doing it. Additionally, PSG Town Hall will be next Wednesday from 7:30 to 9:45 in Walk. There is an Instagram post about it. Please, senators, if you can be there, try to. And yeah, and also guests, if you would like to join us, we would love to have you.
Perfect. I do have a slight informal discussion. Do we like the 3 rows or did we like 2 rows better? Any comments on that? Any concerns? Yes.
I didn't notice.
Didn't notice. How does it feel to be 3rd row?
I like the 3rd row.
Okay. Noted for next time. Also, I know you guys have all been patiently waiting. The Senate snaps have been updated, so I'm just saying you guys should do some snaps tonight. Alrighty. Is there any more informal business discussion? Okay. Seeing none, we can move into old business. Do I hear any old business at this time? Pro Tem Dodona.
I move to bring up Bill 2232.
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded to bring up Bill 2232, amendments to the procedures of the Purdue Student Fee Advisory Board. This bill is not amendable and requires a majority vote. We will start with discussion from the authors of the bill and then move into discussion from the floor.
Point of order, it is amendable.
It is amendable. Do I hear any? Oh, Treasurer Wiseman.
I'll be quick and then I'll hand it over to Andrew. Those who were here last time, this got sent back to committee. Again, a lot of some confusion from the SFAB-SOGA merger from probably like 5 years ago now. So the biggest change is section 5, where we work to clarify that. And then when it got sent back, I'll let Andrew talk about the amendments. Since last week, I would like to clarify any amendments, any differences between the last version and this version, if approved by the Senate, go back to the SFAB board for a majority vote. So even if it gets approved tonight, it does not go into effect until the SFAB board approves it.
Yes.
Yeah, so last time there was a lot of discussion about how the changes wouldn't have to go or changes to the Constitution wouldn't have to go through Senate anymore. That was because previously when SFAB was established, SFAB was actually a PSG committee that was charged with assessing the fees that all the students paid for. When it merged with SOGA, it actually became a grant review board, and at that point, it left the domain of being controlled by PSG. Although to avoid the instance where we're voting for something that conflicts our own governing documents, in the case of saying it's no longer part of our organization when our governing docs say it is, we've decided to, for this year, include the line saying that any changes to the Constitution still do have to go through Senate, but part of financial affairs' job for the rest of the school year will be making some updates to the governing documents to make it clear that SFAB is no longer like entirely overseen by PSG. We'll still provide some sort of check there. We'll still get to review the final report at the end of the school year and be involved in that process. But the SFAB relationship with PSG is going to be formally adjusted this year.
Yes, Pro Tem Dodona.
Just a quick clarification question on like steps moving forward. You said the Senate will review the final report. Is there still a plan for them to review the guidelines as well?
Yeah, so again, as Dr. King mentioned last week, there is the goal to maintain a connection between PSG and SFAB in terms of the final report. So those of you who are new, you're in for a ride come March when this final report comes through. But the idea is, as with the guidelines that were passed last session, PSG approves the guidelines. The SFAB board is tasked with following the guidelines and reviewing the proposals and allocation, and then the final report created by the board comes back to PSG so they can check that the guidelines were followed. So PSG makes the guidelines and then makes sure that SFAB followed the guidelines.
Any other discussion? Okay. Seeing none, we can move to a vote on Bill 2232. So all those in favor, please raise your name placards. Okay. All those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? Okay. With a vote of 26 to 0, Bill 2232 passes. Congratulations. At this time, do I hear any...
Point of order, you still want us to put it into SharePoint as well, correct?
I would love that, actually. Thank
Okay.
you. Okay. Do I hear any more old business at this time? Seeing none, we can now move into new business. Do I hear any new business? Yes, Pro Tem Ferguson.
I move to bring up Joint Resolution 2201.
Second. It has been properly moved and seconded to bring up Joint Resolution 2201, the resolution establishing a Student Wellbeing Day. This bill is amendable and debatable and requires a majority vote. We will start with discussion from the authors of the bill, and then we can move in discussion from the floor. I know we have some PGSG guests with us tonight, so if you guys would like to start, you're more than welcome to.
Hello, my name is Josiah Davidson. I'm the Senate Chair. I will be seeing this through on our Senate floor, but for the time being this evening, I'll yield speaking time to the authors here. Rasul Diop, our Diversity Chair, Somasmita Mitra, a Senator from Electrical and Computer Engineering Graduate Program, and then Alex Seto, the PGSG President. Alex, if you would like to begin, you can speak on this legislation.
Sure. Thank you. This is some legislation that we're really excited about. I think we all know that school is difficult for students' mental health, and I think that having some acknowledgement about this would go a long way. So our hope is that a good first step in acknowledging the mental health situation on campus.
Can everybody hear me? I'm excited to use this. Yeah, so this kind of came out of some conversations with a lot of the cultural center directors as well as some of the leadership at CAPS with trying to really get a dialogue started around mental health and well-being here at Purdue. This bill by no means solves any of the problems or all of the problems we're having here at Purdue regarding mental health and well-being, but it does get the conversation started at a university level and showing the University of Senate that, hey, students, both graduate and undergraduate students, care about the state of mental health and well-being here at Purdue's campus. And this is basically getting the ball rolling, getting these conversations started, and trying to hopefully progress towards some further legislation that actually gets some more tangible infrastructural changes here at Purdue.
So this one of the other reasons we wanted to bring this about is that we have breaks, and not all students at Purdue, especially when it comes to graduate students, are eligible for certain breaks. But when it comes to having a holiday, it differs from the definition of a break. So our idea is there isn't any imposed coursework or research work like restrictions on us on this day. It's a holiday which will be, our plan is to use it to kind of spread the word about the resources that exist on campus, both for both mental health resources and also facilities that are there. And I know there are endeavors that have been made on these facilities, which a lot of people are not aware about. So this also serves as an awareness day, which is not conducted by any student government, both the undergrad and graduate student government, but a university-recognized, university-sponsored holiday, and that has been the plan for this resolution. Yeah.
If I may say one other point too, a couple of concerns that were raised by the senators in the PGSG Senate was specific consideration to the wording of holidays and also when it was placed. One concern that is specific to graduate students and is something of note for our Senate is that many graduate students and subpopulations, whether they're TAs, RAs, a bunch of other different designations, can go the entire academic year without getting a day off, including the weekends, due to the way that Purdue structures its policies. The other consideration that we thought might be advantageous for undergraduates at Purdue as well is the specific placement of the day falling prior to the finals week. I think our exact wording was the commencement of final week, I believe, and then off after spring break as well, because that's the region where we find the most stress among the graduate population, and then it is just not logistically feasible to actually have it during finals week. I think, is there any more comments from the authors?
I was going to say one more thing about the support that this has been getting from my conversations with like CAPS and everything. CAPS has been really trying to focus on the entirety of well-being and not just mental health. So they've been involving like the co-rec, and then there's a new director at Push now. So it seems like this might be the perfect time to start these discussions. And like I said, get the ball rolling because they are paying more specific attention to overall well-being, not just mental health. So I think this could be really good. Those students take it.
Thank you, guys. Yes, Pro Tem Tadona.
Yeah, so one clarification question that I had was within the be it further resolved clauses, there seems to be not a particular specification on where in Purdue University this would be headed, or like who particularly would oversee it or help with it. So I understand why it might not be in this legislation, but I wanted to know if you guys had any like ideas on where this would be housed in terms of Purdue overseeing it, whether that's CAPS or a different department.
So in terms of who the ask is directly for, it's going to be the University Senate since they control the academic calendar. Beyond that, I hadn't had too many considerations. I think we would like to have the university's input, and they can place it where they think would be.
Do I hear any other discussion at this time? Yes.
So I'm aware that we already have a mental health week. So besides the day off, how would you like compare this, or like what does it offer differently compared to the mental health week?
So specifically the day off, I know the authors of this resolution have talked about this being like the first in a series of legislation and asked for the university to pay larger attention to mental health. Specifically, I believe IU has made this a top priority on a university level. That's what we're asking for. In terms of mental health, I believe it's Action Week now. The difference is a lot of graduate students in particular can't make use of Mental Health Action Week. So graduate students are confined by several different factors. One of them might be their direct advisor in laboratories. Other ones could be grading for whatever classes they're overseeing. But what we found was, whereas Mental Health Action Week is a very good first step, a lot of times because of it falling, to be perfectly honest, in business hours, a lot of graduate students can't make use of it. So the fact that we're asking for a day off is really asking for the university to say, hey, we do prioritize your mental health for everybody, including the people who don't have schedule availability to use other planned, basically observances.
And also to Josiah's point, not just IU, University of North Carolina, who we kind of looked at for a model for this. They have 2 mental health days per semester, and that's that's really impactful for a lot of people to be able to take time for their mental health. And there's a lot of studies that say that you need that time, and not just from a graduate student perspective, from an undergraduate student perspective. Mental Health Action Week is a student-led initiative. And this really puts the onus on the university to say, hey, we need to put the resources, allocate the time to paying attention to this and not just having student-led initiatives drive. I mean, even though students are the life and breath of the campus, we need to, support them and have this day that we can show support. CAPS has mentioned maybe increasing the number of sessions that day or trying to do something with, the other entities to, make this more feasible at a university level.
Is there any other discussion at this time? Yes, Senator Terrell.
Big fan of the bill. I was just wondering, or resolution, I'm sorry. I was just wondering, I guess, how did it get decided on to have one in the spring, which I understand is like what people consider the long haul, instead of just off the bat trying to get one each semester? Because I feel like, burnout, that's a semesterly thing. I'm assuming, in undergrad anyway, I'm assuming in grad it's even worse. So I was just wondering, like, what was the discussion where you guys were like, you know what, spring, we're going to try spring semester first and then maybe extend?
So the exact wording, I believe, is that beginning the spring of 2023. So the idea is to have it every semester. And the reason we start with spring 2023 is because our idea is with this, should the joint resolution pass, then we bring it out to the University Senate floor on the 17th of November, if I'm not incorrect. And with that, that gives it possibility for implementation. At that point, we thought it could be implemented in 2023. But with that, just gives them room for putting it on the calendar should it go through.
Yeah, the intention was to have it every semester because, as you pointed out, burnout is a real thing in the fall semester as well. It is that 2023 would be the beginning of when that day happens, and then it would be a priority for University Senate, who sets the academic calendar every semester thereafter. I think we might have some input as far as the feasibility of changing the spring 2023 calendar. Would you like to speak to that, Alex?
Yeah, I think that we may have to, that may not be possible due to when calendar is decided. It might. But our hope is that.
Do I hear any other discussion at this time? Yes, Pro Tem Ferguson.
Yeah, I just want to echo some of the sentiments as well as just express my support of this joint resolution. I think that this is a really, really good initiative for the university itself to take on to help better support not just graduate students but undergraduate students. I can speak directly to my experience with the difference between this and Mental Health Action Week, being that it's A, not university or not student led, and B, that if I didn't have classes, I personally would be able to better look at the different resources across campus rather than running between my classes and different tables that I might personally be helping staff. And I know that that's an experience of a lot of different student leaders who are a part of Mental Health Action Week. And so I think that this really, really would better support not just students that we are serving through Mental Health Action Week, but ourselves and other students who do help plan and implement it.
Senator Robinson?
Yeah, I don't know if this is important, but it doesn't explicitly say in the bill that once per semester, and I just want to make sure that there would be no problems with the university if they were to just put this on for, the spring 2023 and then never again. So is that an issue? I don't know, would that be an issue that it doesn't explicitly say once per semester?
It very much could be. We would like to emphasize that this legislation is amendable. I believe your pro tempore can speak to that as well. If there are amendments proposed here, it simply goes to a joint committee, and then that version that comes out of there is not amendable. But if you think anything is of concern with the wording and would like to propose changes, we highly encourage that. We're willing to work with that, and indeed would like to work with that as well.
Pro Tem Ferguson?
And while I do agree with that, I want to make us all cognizant of the fact that if changes are made, that would push back the timeline slightly of this going to University Senate, which could delay some factors of this being implemented as early as potentially possible. But that being said, amendments are on the table for this resolution.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Did you want to talk? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say, I don't see the harm in having it pass once, seeing how it works out, seeing how the university reacts to it before making it a permanent thing, and just making sure that it works out well and that the timeline of it works well, and then if changes need to be made, then we implement those in the next fall semester.
Yes.
I guess this is just for discussion. When this passes, regardless if it's today or not, I'm worried that if we sent it through without making an amendment to make that more specified, that once we get a piece of legislation through University Senate to establish it once, the University Senate has their own timeline of things, and I would just be worried about getting another piece of legislation through to make it where it can still be accounted for the year of 2023 to 2024. Because I think they've already said it's kind of unlikely that this might get changed. Hopefully it does, but it might not because the calendar's already been made. So I think if there is a time to make an amendment, it would be now, before this legislation even sees University Senate.
Pro Tem Ferguson.
Just to make you all aware, there is also a possibility that this gets sent to University Senate and then changed in University Senate. So if this leaves here, there is still that possibility that it won't not be amended there as well. Just something to bring to your attention.
Pro Tem Tadana.
Just a clarification for either Pro Tem Ferguson or any of our PGSG representatives. If this doesn't pass, or if there's an amendment now that then needs to go back to PGSG, is that for sure a dead on the timeline for getting this to the November 17th meeting?
I believe so. Again, I would, because of the concerns with it even having an effect in the spring semester, my opinion, other PGSG members can speak to that. We believe it should be as foolproof, if you will, coming out of here to make sure our position is clearly stated to the Senate. To run through a quick timeline, though, if amendments are proposed at this session and passed at this session, that will trigger a delegation that is appointed by both presidents of PGSG and PSG. In that delegation and whoever their appointees are, they will come up with final wording that is then unamendable on both PGSG's floor and PSG's floor, but it still has to be voted on at both sessions. So, with that being said, PGSG Senate has 2 more meetings, the last one being on November 30th. It would still have to go through your Senate meeting, though, before it's final. If I do the calculations correct, that does kind of mean it is dead for submission to the University Senate in the fall 2022.
Pro Tem Ferguson.
And just to add a date to that, our next Senate session would be November 30th, so after the November 17th University Senate session.
Yes.
And to then just be crystal clear, if this doesn't go to the University Senate this semester, then it is not possible to make an amendment to the academic calendar that would go into place in spring.
Alex, you can speak on this, but my understanding is that date is already passed.
Yeah, I believe that the spring 2023 calendar was set passed already. I don't think that will be endable.
Yes.
All right. I think I'd like to offer an amendment, but I don't remember do I have to say anything other than that?
You have to make the official motion I move to amend the resolution by how you wish to do it.
Point of order, are all authors here?
All authors are not here. The Jacob White there, Senator from Computer Science Department, is not present.
Okay, so this will have to be a formal amendment, just for clarification.
Yes.
All right. I would like to offer a formal amendment to the Joint Resolution 2201 to the first therefore clause, where it states that Purdue Student Government calls for establishment of a Student Wellbeing Day beginning spring of 2023, and therefore once a semester, every semester after, would be the amendment. If anyone might want to, what? I will slack that for anyone that isn't sure what it is, if anyone hypothetically wants to second that.
Second.
Thank you. So this amendment is amendable and debatable and requires a majority vote. Do I hear any discussion at this time? Yes.
So I would argue that it makes a little bit less sense to approve an amendment right now, just because it's clear that if we approve an amendment right now, it's just going to hold up the process, and the bill won't actually be able to get to University Senate until next semester, when it's already too late to actually implement it in spring 2023. My view is that even if the language isn't perfect from some people's perspectives, we should still try to push it to University Senate. And if they approve it, then we can have this happen in spring 2023. But if they don't like it, we're still going to have to work on it next semester and work on it for the fall. So this just kind of like forces us to wait when we could kind of take a gamble and see if they're willing to go with this one.
Senator Brown.
Excuse my ignorance, but so isn't the spring already set in place for the schedule, or we're saying it's not, or it's set in place but it's still adjustable up until we actually start the spring? I'm a bit confused on that, if someone could answer that.
Pro Tem Ferguson, do you know?
Okay, I think we all kind of need a clarification on what this resolution is asking for. Further resolutions will potentially be asking for an adjustment to the academic calendar. This is more asking for the, at least in my viewpoint, the implementation of a student well-being day more as an event or like as a reading day like we had in the last like COVID years. So reading days in COVID times didn't need an adjustment to the academic calendar. It was kind of just the university saying, don't go to class. This is more what that, in my viewpoint, is looking for. And if PGSG representatives have additional clarification from that, you can, but yes.
Sorry, I don't have a placard to raise. Yes, I would agree there. As to the feasibility of getting the academic calendar changed, that probably passed once the fall semester was initiated. However, in the past, especially what's done over winter break, is the president may declare a university holiday without being on the academic calendar. Not saying that's guaranteed, but it's possible. There are other ways than adding it to the academic calendar in spring 2023 that it might still be observed. I believe that would be best left to University Senate to hash out. The beginning spring 2023 verbiage in our mind signified that it was to be immediate, not something that is put on the back burner for an academic year or until it's convenient to be considered. As to any other concerns about it being passed or being able to be introduced here, it still would be introduced upon both signatures at the next available Senate meeting, which just might be the first one in the spring semester, allowing time still for it to be considered. Again, we would like to emphasize that the position of all students is foolproof from the point of this resolution, so we can go unified to the University Senate.
Senator Jane.
I just want to say again, if we have an opportunity here to actually make mental health matters better for graduate students, I don't see why we shouldn't take that opportunity, especially since they seem to have thought out the bill very well and they know what is beneficial for them. And so if offering an amendment pushes back that entire timeline, then I think it makes sense to take that chance and do like good for mental health in graduate students than waiting.
Senator Robinson.
Also on that note, I get what Senator Ferguson is saying with like you kind of want it to be similar to a reading day, but I for one want to make my intentions clear that I think that this is very important, that shouldn't just be kind of casually thrown in, that we should as a university like structure this so that it is every semester, which is why I would be in favor of this amendment.
Pro Tem Ferguson.
I personally am less in favor of the amendment because I think that as the resolution currently stands, it doesn't leave for that it could not be extended. This is also potentially an opportunity that a second piece of legislation after this first day in spring of 2023 could be written saying, please do this again. Please do this yearly. And so passing this as it is now and not pushing back this timeline doesn't limit us from continuing to advocate for such initiatives in the future.
Senator Jane.
In addition to that, having it one time will also give us data and research if the university wants it to show that students actually perform better and that their mental health is better because of like we're calling it a reading day or like a mental health day. Basically, it gives us like hard facts to show to the university to say that we should have this every semester, and then it makes a second piece of legislation better backed by data.
Senator Terrell.
I totally agree with what you mean with data. However, I would argue from the university standpoint that one semester isn't going to provide that because there's no repeated proof of the data. It's just a one-time, like you wouldn't have an experiment with only one round of the experiment. You know what I mean? You need multiple times for that data to be collected to show that it wasn't just like a one-time thing. So I'm not sure that we would actually get any data from that the university would respect in that manner because it isn't backed by time. it's just a one semester number type thing.
Yes.
I don't think the data matters all that much. I think at the end of the day, we just have to recognize that if we want this to continue, we can also work on something next semester to make it reoccurring. As has been mentioned multiple times, if we do this now, this is kind of like a short-term solution, and it doesn't have to be the long-term. We can make something long-term a separate project.
Senator Hampton.
Reading it again, I'm not quite sure that beginning spring of 2023 is exclusionary to only 2023. And I also think the intentionality when presented to the University Senate would certainly establish the possibility and intent for a precedent. With that in mind, I am not in support of the amendment, and I also do think that we're kind of talking in circles a little bit, so we might want to kind of reach a conclusion.
Yes.
If the whole point of this is just to take a small step, and then we just don't take the step at all, it's not really consequential. So everyone seems to have made up their mind. Can I motion for a vote on the amendment, please?
Second.
Okay, I officially motion to vote on the amendment.
Second.
Okay, so the motion to vote is on the amendment itself.
So previous question has been called, even though you didn't do it correctly. So we're going to vote on that, and then we're going to vote on the amendment.
Yep. Okay, so the vote at hand is on whether or not we want to take a vote in closed discussion. Okay, so all in favor of taking that vote and closing discussion? All those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? Okay, with a vote of 26-0, the motion passes. So we are now going to vote on the amendment at hand. Okay, so all those in favor for the amendment at hand? Raise your name placards. Okay, all those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? Okay, with a vote of 24-0, the amendment does not pass. So now we are back to the original joint resolution. Yes.
I move that we vote on the joint resolution.
Second.
Okay. So now we're going to have to vote on the vote again. So all those in favor of moving this to a vote, please raise your name placards. Okay. All those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? Okay. With the vote of 25-0, the voting process will now begin. Okay. So now all those in favor of the joint resolution, please raise your name placards. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. With a vote of 25-0, the joint resolution passes. What?
Don't do the SharePoint, because if you put 1, it's going to overdo our resolution 1.
Yes. So internalize everything, and I've noted who did not, who abstained. So we know. I'll put it in. I'll put it in correctly. Don't worry. Okay. So congratulations to PGSG and Lily. Okay. So do I hear any more new business at this time? Yes, Senator Trail.
I motion to bring up Resolution 2234.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Okay. It has been properly moved and seconded to bring up Resolution 2234, resolution calling for changes to the false allegations, statements, and evidence section of the Title IX and anti-harassment policy. This resolution is amendable and debatable and requires a majority vote. We will start with discussion from the authors of the bill and then move into discussion from the floor. So at this time, do any of the authors wish to start? Yes.
Yeah, so this is these two resolutions that are coming up now are things that came out of SAFER after some conversations with both the members as well as some administration on how to better clarify the processes in place when it comes to false allegations as well as incapacitation. So this legislation in particular looks at changing both the Title IX as well as the anti-harassment policy. What we're doing is we're looking at other schools' policies that sort of offer better solutions than the one that Purdue currently has to recommend those changes to the university and getting sort of Senate approval. Some things, one of the most important changes in this legislation is a clarification around exactly when disciplinary action is warranted. It clarifies that disciplinary action is not warranted when an individual provides information in good faith, even if the information is ultimately not substantiated. So that gives a clarification of if you are acting in good faith and giving what you believe to be accurate and honest information, that you cannot be punished for that within the university. Another important piece of this resolution is it has sort of a clause that talks about working with administration when it comes to the process. One thing that I felt really strongly about, as well as members of SAFER, was trying to make a separation in what is heard from the university in terms of process of determining whether a breach of the anti-harassment or Title IX policy was happened, and a separate proceeding that determines whether a false allegation has been made and what that punishment would be. We're trying to make those distinctions, but after talking to some administrations, after talking to people within student life as well as students, it's clear that no one really has a great solution to what that process ought to look like. And so we added that therefore clause rather than suggesting a process of having more conversations to examine what that process ought to look like. So that's an additional clarification there. But I think that covers sort of the main points of this legislation.
Pro Tem Ferguson?
And something important to clarify, because I know there's a lot of conversation of how is Title IX implemented, what is Title IX, is Title IX is a federal regulation that is written not for students but written for universities. So how the policy and the Code of Federal Regulations is written is so that universities can take these policies and procedures and implement them in language that students can read and understand. And what we're trying to do is take the policies in place and make them better for students to understand. So not going against what Title IX is. Title IX is, Purdue's Title IX interpretation is very changeable. The federal regulations, therefore, are not.
Yes.
I yield 2 minutes to Press Secretary Chris.
Thank you. Also, this is me speaking on behalf of President Jensen once again. He wanted me to say I strongly support both Title IX resolutions and want to applaud all of the authors for their great work. If these resolutions pass, I will personally bring these to the desks of both Provost Ackridge and President Daniels.
Yes.
Alrighty, I've got a hefty friendly amendment. I've already sent it to our delightful secretary, and SAFER members have already approved of this. So I make a friendly amendment to add to the sponsorship Senator Adi Famayua, Michael Brown, Mason Merkel, Shai Robinson, Parker Wilfred, Evan Adam, Gabby Da Silva, Irene Scudder, as well as the Pan-Hellenic Association.
Does that move too long? Great. So with the friendly amendment, are all the authors present tonight? Yes.
Most authors are present. Otherwise, they have
Given
all,
their approval.
all members have given approval.
Fabulous. Okay. Is there any further discussion at this time? Yes.
Yeah, just one question I had. I wanted to know how we plan on deciding whether someone knowingly or intentionally did an act. I had a lot of just question behind that. If someone could answer that for me, that would be great.
Yes.
I'm a little confusing your question, Senator Ackerman, but I'll do my best to answer it anyways. I think so. The intention. So basically, in terms of determining whether someone acted in good faith, basically it'd be a separate process of determining intention, which is something that happens within every court in the United States. So looking at indications from witness statements, from their own testimony, from other evidence that provided that shows that they did not act in good faith. So when making that report, did they intentionally intentionally and knowingly mislead or lie to Purdue. So that would be a whole process that would idealistically determine whether that happened or not. So it would be, in essence, a process that's similarly to Title IX and anti-harassment in effect.
Yeah, so kind of to add on, I'm a little bit confused about the whole good faith as well, because I feel like that leaves a lot of space for interpretation and like what happens if the information is incorrect but the person believes that it is accurate, and I feel like there's no space for like repercussion in that scenario, I guess. So who's to say that like students just aren't going to say that it is in good faith? I feel like there is quite a lot of interpretation that's up for grabs in this.
Pro Tem Dodona.
Yeah, so this policy does offer a change in which we provide a direct definition for what is good faith. So when an individual reasonably believes that the information they provided is accurate, I am very much in support of not punishing students if they are truly giving what they believe to be accurate information. And I think otherwise we'd be harming people from making statements about what happened to them because they believe that someone could be because they're not 100% sure on whether they're going to have enough physical evidence to prove it. And so this doesn't punish them for that because, in essence, if making a good faith allegation, they should be able to not be punished for it. That doesn't mean that someone will be found guilty of something, but it means that they can't be punished for making a good faith allegation.
Senator Esquinas.
I completely agree with Senator Dodona, and it puts a greater level of burden of proof on the university to actually provide or actually implement some sort of punishment or put disciplinary action on a student. And so I like that it makes it more difficult for the university to actually make anything like that happen.
Pro Tem Ferguson.
And just to add on, when we talk about Title IX, there's always the talk of sexual violence and what that and what reporting is done for sexual violence. Sexual violence is a horrifically underreported crime, as the resolution states. And so by adding this good faith, if someone is making a good faith attempt to report sexual violence, I really do not believe that that should be punished. And I think that that is what this resolution is really trying to get at.
Senator Jane.
It ultimately just ensures that more people come forward and that they feel comfortable coming forward. And essentially it just makes sure that the process is a little bit more demystified, where they know that they can't be punished, even with providing whatever information they have, and they don't have to worry about how much is it or how little is it. And so they're just able to report these crimes a little bit more freely.
Yes.
So I completely agree. I think that this gives an opportunity for more people to come out with what happened, but I'm also a little bit kind of confused, or not confused, but a little bit against the term like good faith and bad faith, because I believe that if something happened, didn't happen, the person who reported it is going to say that it's in good faith no matter what. So that kind of gives leeway for like an automatic like no repercussion type event.
Senator, okay, Pro Tem Dodona.
I think Senator Bettini brings up something important, and I think that it's, in essence, I believe this within all systems, that if you're going to hold someone accountable, then you have to prove it. And so an intentionality claim is the most important thing within this. And so if they're going to actually punish someone for making a false allegation, not saying anything about the actual sexual violence determination, but a determination of false allegation, it needs to be a requirement for the university to prove that they acted in bad faith. And so in my mind, I think that makes the most amount of sense for this situation and allows for you have to have proof that they didn't act that way to be able to punish them. And I sort of outlined a little earlier about what that could look like testimonials from witnesses in which they said something that contradicted that it was good faith, whether it looks like them telling other people different things. There's a lot of different ways to have conversations about intentionality. It's done all over our court systems in the United States. So I think that having that barrier of proof in order to punish someone for making a false allegation is needed. I think anyone could claim positive intent, but in order to issue a punishment, proof is needed.
Senator Mariani.
I decided I did have something to say. I understand where Senator Bottini is coming from, good faith is an actual legal term. I think it's worth putting that out there, and it does explicitly say what that definition would be. And to all of their points, again, it's about like innocent until proven guilty. Even if you don't have the evidence to support whatever claim you're trying to push, whoever's trying to push like a claim against you for false allegation should have evidence for that as well. And that's what this is in support of.
Yes.
So I again agree with like the points that you're trying to make. It's kind of just the wording that is my concern, because when you state at the bottom of it, when that individual reasonably believes that the information they have provided is accurate, that kind of just leaves it up for themselves to believe. So no matter what, when they're reporting it, they're always going to believe that their own statements, unless they're a horrible human being, but like they're always going to believe like what they're saying. So I kind of that just feel that it leaves it up for interpretation.
Pro Tem Ferguson.
I just want to bring up that this is not too far off from actual Title IX verbiage. So how the Code of Federal Regulation is written is charging an individual with quote unquote bad faith efforts. We can't get away from the good faith, bad faith language just because that is frankly how Title IX is written. Thanks. Which is that charging an individual with a code of conduct violation for making materially false statements in bad faith in the course of a grievance proceeding under this part does not constitute retaliation prohibited under the rest of the law. So bad faith and good faith language is something that's inherently written into Title IX, and so I think that it's a moot point to try to take that away from whatever the university decides to implement for themselves.
Senator Robinson.
Additionally, this is going to be sent to Purdue Legal, and I think that's an important check, and to also Purdue graduate student government, just to make sure that they're also in accordance with this and everything makes sense.
Senator Wheeler.
Yeah, I just think there might be some confusion. So it's the university decides what's in good faith and what information is reasonable, not the individual themselves. So even if the individual thinks that it's like reasonable or good faith, like it doesn't really matter. It's not their decision. So.
Would anybody like to yield some time to our Chief Justice? Yes, Pro Tem Ferguson.
I yield 2 minutes of my time to Chief Justice.
I will say that just because an individual reasonably believes that something is accurate, I know your concern is that maybe that the event didn't actually happen, but punishing someone before actually determining what happened doesn't actually get into that discussion until that allegation has already been made. So the purpose of this seems to be not punishing the student beforehand before even getting into the details of that.
President Ferguson.
I also just don't believe that punishing students for, even if a policy violation is found not to have been made, punishing a student for coming forward with something that has happened to them that they think constitutes as any form of harassment, even if the policy violation hasn't been made, I think that it's that good faith effort and that good faith determination that really is what protects students in their ability to report things to the university. And so I think that it's really important for this measure of protection to be here for all students.
Do I hear any other discussion at this time? Okay. Seeing none, we can now move to a vote on Resolution 2234. So, all those in favor, please raise your name placards. All those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? Okay. At this time, can you guys all note it in SharePoint? And make sure you put resolutions, not bill. Okay. With a vote of 24-022, Resolution 2234 passes. Congratulations. Okay. Do I hear any more new business? Yes, Senator Terrell.
A motion to bring up Resolution 2235.
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded to bring up Resolution 2235, resolution calling for a clarification of the incapacitation definition on the Title IX and the anti-harassment policy. This resolution is amendable and debatable and requires a majority vote. We will start with discussion from the authors of the bill, and then we can move into discussion from the floor. Would any of the authors wish to begin? Yes, Pro Tem Tadona.
Yes, so this resolution looks at Purdue's current definition of incapacitated and incapacitation. In essence, what it's doing is giving some more explicit details and understanding for what it means to be incapacitated, as well as not just defining more so of what it is, but giving tangible steps for people to look for in order to make those determinations. So really, at least in my perspective, it's not broadening that much the current definition of incapacitation, but rather just giving really explicit understanding for all students to have a better understanding of what it means to be not able to make informed rational judgments, because I think that's a really abstract term. So this definition, which is taken from Ball State, so that means both federal Title IX as well as any Indiana statutes that might exist, gives some really in-depth clarification on what incapacitation means, how would people determine incapacitation, who's responsible for those determinations. So this is just taking their current policy and probably about tripling it and giving a lot more details on exactly what it means so that everybody is clear on it.
Would anybody like to yield some time to, yes.
I'll yield.
I'll yield 2 minutes of my time to Press Secretary Chris.
I'm not going to need all that time. I just wanted to make sure it was clear. President Jensen also wants his statement supporting this one as well, just making sure everyone knows.
Yes.
Friendly Amendment 2.0, same people. I'm not going to say them all again. Same ones for the first one added to the second one as well.
Perfect. And all the authors agree? Yes. Perfect. Okay. Do I hear any discussion at this time? Oh, wow. All right. Seeing none, we can move to a vote on Resolution 2235. So all those in favor, please raise your name placards. All those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? Perfect. All right, go ahead and note that in SharePoint, please. Okay, with a vote of 26 to 0, Resolution 2235 passes. Congratulations. Okay, do I hear any other new business? Seeing none, we can now move into announcements. Do I hear any announcements at this time? Okay, my announcement is to give someone snaps because they're cool. They're cool this time, I promise. Oh, Abidemi, did you have one?
Sorry about that. I wasn't able to give this announcement at the beginning, but I just wanted to let everyone know just a little bit of some information about winterization this weekend. So if you haven't signed up, please do that. Go to Purdue, just Google Purdue winterization, and you have the opportunity to select what group you're going to be with, select Purdue Student Government, and we'll be going in the first wave, so that means that we'll be meeting at the First United Methodist Church at between 8 a.m. and 8:45 a.m. We'll be having a list of everyone who's driving and all that fun stuff coming out soon. So we were just waiting on them to give us that information, and then we'll be able to distribute that shortly. Additionally, I guess the last thing I want to make sure that everyone's aware of is it's going to be really cold, so make sure that you're wearing layers. It's like projected to be 30 degrees in the morning, and I don't know about y'all, but that's pretty cold to me. But yeah, and I'm just really excited to see everyone there. If you're unable to make it, that's totally fine. We do have another opportunity for volunteering that day, actually. So we're partnering as co-sponsors with the Black Student Union in their Diabetes Walkathon. So that's an opportunity to get involved, and you don't have to leave campus in order to do that. It's just an opportunity to just basically promote the higher rates of diabetes amongst the African American population, and to just give back to, and just kind of support that cause. If you are interested in that, there is a participation fee, but we are willing to waive that, and like on behalf of BOD, pay for that participation fee. So just shoot me a message on Slack, email, text, whatever you prefer. And I'd be more than happy to make that possible for you. And then again, that is at 10 a.m. on this November 12th. Any questions regarding any of that? Fantastic. So the last thing that I want to let you all know about is the town hall that's next week, Wednesday. So this is a really cool opportunity that a lot of different directors and committees have been collaborating on. But the goal is really just to be able to hear what the student body has to say about a lot of different things going on campus. So I think that this would be a really cool opportunity for senators to show up and just be able to listen to their constituents and hear what people have to say. The goal isn't necessarily to have a specific, this is what we're going to do at the end. We just want to create a space for people to talk because we feel like that hasn't really been happening a whole lot. And we want to make sure that Purdue student government is able to listen to people talking so that people feel heard and they can bounce ideas off of one another. So that's really the goal of the town hall. And that's going to be next Wednesday from, I want to say, 7:45 to 9:30. That's going to be taking place in Walk. I'm not going to give you the number right now because I'm going to butcher it, but that will be taking place in Walk instead of the Board of Directors meeting. So I'll be sending out a message shortly about that. If you have any questions about that, I'd be more than happy to answer that. But that's all I got. Thank you.
Are there any other announcements? Yes.
I just have a quick question about the town hall for Chief of Staff Oregby. What would be like the expectations for senators that would be attending? Like, are we gonna be like on stage answering questions, or is it like what's it gonna look like?
That's a fantastic question. Thank you for asking that. So my thinking was, and what I really wanted to see was, we do have a couple moderators, and I don't want senators to feel like they have to be the ones answering questions. I just wanted y'all to be able to contribute to the conversation. So it's more the idea of, you're gonna like take off your name tag, you're just there to hear what people have to say, and then you get to take that back to your committee, or you get to take that back to wherever you write your legislation and be able to do that. So I wasn't really thinking of it necessarily having a formal role in it. It was just more so being present and being able to contribute to that conversation. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Are there any other announcements at this time? Okay. Seeing none, we can move into Senate Snaps. So, for any newcomers, Senate Snaps is a way to recognize the hard works of others within PSG. So does anyone have a snap at this time? Yes.
I have a snap for our friends PGSG. I feel like we don't see you guys at all, but I'm happy that you guys are here. Happy to work on joint resolution with you. So snaps to you all.
Yay. Next, Senator Mariani.
I have so many snaps. Okay. First of all, snaps for SAFER for getting 2 phenomenal pieces of legislation to the floor that hopefully with some more passion behind it can get like a real impact on students' lives on campus. So snaps for that. Similarly, snaps for FA. Y'all have been really just like chugging along with the small grants. I think that's awesome. I know it was a little bit of a slow start last year, so it's exciting to see that's like y'all are getting the ball rolling with that. I bet it's just like a lot of fun to review grants as well. I'm a little bit jealous, but that's okay. And lastly, my last snaps are for all the new members of IA. So that's Rebecca, Veda, and Zoe. Y'all all kind of joined like the last couple weeks and kind of just got through like head first into election rules, and y'all have been killing the game. So snaps to them as well.
Yay. Senator Terrell.
Well, I'm going to raise Josh a Senate snap to CSRA because not only is the committee mostly made up of new senators, which is swag money, except for they've never done lots of Senate things before. So it's been a great learning experience, but I don't know about you guys, but I gave homework in my committee, which they did not expect when they got assigned to my committee, and they have really risen to the challenge. So it took us a meeting or two to get like in the sway of things, but man, are we swaying. And so I'm just really excited of all the growth that they've been showing. So hashtag go CSRA.
Pro Tem Dodona.
I'm going to give new snaps to every new senator in IA or not in IA. They all deserve snaps for coming and learning, and we really appreciate it. We can't do this all without more people.
Senator Brown.
Snaps to you for refilling the snaps.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, you guys. Stop. Yes.
Snaps to Senator Brown, because I know he's been stressed, but he's killing it with school and still decides to go to UAA and still do a great job.
Nice. Any more snaps? Yes.
Last but not least, I'll give a snap to Senator Mariani. He is very helpful even outside of Senate duties. I'll leave it at that, but he's an extremely good friend. I didn't say anything.
Any more snaps? Alrighty. You guys know where the box is. Okay. Seeing no more further announcements of snaps, the chair would recognize a motion to adjourn. Yes, Senator Skinnis.
Madam Chair, I do hear motion that we now adjourn.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Perfect. It has been properly motioned and seconded to adjourn the meeting. It's not amendable. It's not debatable. It requires a 2/3 vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Abstentions. Great. The meeting is now adjourned. Thank you, everyone.